If you are a beginner or an intermediate player, finding plans in the middle game and in the end game could be one of the hardest things to do. That's why I made this video in order to help you with both the middle game and the end game. In this video, I'm going to analyze a game that I played some days ago, and I think it's really instructive for both the middle game and the end game. So let's start with the video and enjoy. So we are in the middle game, and my last move was knight in b1 to d2, so I developed all of my pieces, and now I need to come up with a plan. In order to find a plan, obviously you need to understand a certain position, so you need to understand what you would like to do based on the position. For example, if there is a pawn on d5, as in this case, obviously you can't play c4, you can't play e4, so these are information that you are going to use in order to try to find a plan. So when you are going to think about something, you probably are thinking, well, I can put the knight on c4, or maybe you can if you see a tactic, etc, etc. So I need to understand what's around me, and I need to find some threat in order to pose some difficulties to my opponent. And also I should try to understand what my opponent wants to do. In this position, for example, if it was my turn, I would probably play queen on b3 or try to expand on the queen side. Why? Because I gain more space, or attack my opponent because the b7 pawn is weak. So I find a target, or I find a way to make my position better, and I build a plan around that. In this position though, my opponent played f6. What are my opponent threat? Obviously, my opponent want to open the position because he has a rook there, and as you can see, he does not have a lot of space. So his plan is to open the position as much as possible and probably develop the knight, maybe on c4, or develop this knight on f5, give more space as possible, and where you have more space, you have more attacking chance. So my bishop is under attack. Before going for my plan, obviously, remember, I need to see what's around me. I need to understand what my opponent want to do and what I want to do. And I see that my bishop is under attack, so I can move the bishop, or I can take this pawn. If I move the bishop though, I'm going to lose this pawn. So I can't really move the bishop, so I'm going to take the pawn. My opponent could take with the knight or with the bishop, and this time he takes with the bishop. So what is my plan? What do I want to do? Now the position transformed, so I have to make another plan. If there are some changes in the position, which happens pretty much every time, you need to see if your plan could still work, or if you should try with another plan. So if in a chess game you had like 100 plans, that does not necessarily mean that you are bad. That means that you understood certain things, you understood that a plan wasn't good enough, and you decided to try another one. And in this case, with this transformation, I see that this square is weak, so maybe in the future I could put a piece there, just an example, and also this pawn became a weakness. So all my plans to attack this pawn could actually change in order to try to target this pawn because it looks weaker. A pawn is weak where is not defended by another pawn. Also, my bishop is under attack, but it's defended. And remember, this does not work now. Let's say if it was my opponent turn, let's say I play this. If they take my knight, I can take back and the bishop is not lost. So what can I do? If I take the bishop though, I need to see what happens next. You know, remember, I need to understand what my opponents want to do. My opponent wants more space. So if I take the bishop, he's going to capture with the knight, and he actually has more space. So I'm helping him to do what he wants to do. So what I should do is try to make this change more favorable for me. For this reason, in this position I played h3. Why? because if he takes my bishop now, I'm going to take with the knight, and this knight is pretty strong. And there is a difference with the position before. In this case, he has not a knight on f6, and I have a knight on g5, which is really strong, and I have more space. If he takes my bishop, this pawn becomes really weak, and as you see, the evaluation is going up and is +2. So in this position, my opponent decided to take my knight, and I mean, he kinda has to do, because if he moves the bishop, for example, I gain more space, and his bishop is almost tapped. So he take my knight, and I captured back with the knight. Why? Because otherwise I'm going to lose the bishop. So now the bishops are staring each other, and my opponent does not want to play, does not want to take the bishop, because otherwise my knight is going to be stronger. So now I have to come up with another plan. I need to understand what to do. So I see that the bishops are staring at each other, so I can think about taking the bishop, or maybe not. But it's my opponent's turn, so he has to play something. And he plays knight on f5. Why? Because he wants to gain more space. His pieces are kinda bad, and he wants them to get better. So what can I play now? So what can I do now? I can't go on b3, because the bishop is under attack. When you make a plan, you also need to look at the current position. You need to look at what's going on. My bishop is under attack, so I can't put the queen on b3. I need to do something about that. So I could take or go back. In this case, I decided to take, which might not be the best option, but I thought that going back wasn't so good, because if I go on f4, I don't know, maybe my bishop could be a target, there is a rook there. I didn't like this too much, so I decided to take, which is fine. And he takes back with the queen. So now I see that there is a battery with the rook and the queen on this file. But I also see that this is not a problem, because this pawn is defended by the rook. And now queen b3 is stronger. Now I can play queen b3 and create some problems, which in fact is the best move, which I did not play it, and I decided to play bishop on d3. Why? Because if the knight moves, maybe in the future I can create some threats on this diagonal, but yeah, queen b3 was better. And my opponent, in order to gain more space, decided to play e5. Now, e5 is a mistake, because if I take this knight, he can take with the pawn or with the queen. Let's say he take with the queen, I can just take this, and if he take, I'm going to take the pawn with the queen, so he basically loses the pawn, but I didn't see that. And in this position I played pawn takes, and with dated pieces. So what's my plan now? I see this pawn is weak now, also the queen is a target now, so I can gain an important time. So I make a plan based on the position. The queen is the target, I can attack the queen with the rook. And after that, what I want to do is trying to make some pressure on this diagonal. That's my plan. Might not be the best, but that's what I'm thinking. And I make pressure in this way. So I bring the bishop back in order to put a queen on this diagonal, so maybe in the future I could create some really interesting threat. Also, this pawn might be a target in the future. So he plays c6, and in this position I play queen on e2. I play queen on e2 for a simple reason. So in this position he had the chance to put a rook on this file, but he didn't. So I decided to take the full control of the file. This move is really good, because now he can't put a rook on e8. But my opponent decided to do that. Now, he's not losing, but when I played queen on e2, I was ready to play the rooks. So when you go for the plan, you have to be ready for all the things that you saw. So you decided to go for something, and you have to be ready to face that position. If you go for the plan and you see that you are disposing in a position that you don't really like, you shouldn't go for that, you should try another plan. So two rooks are better than a queen if you can coordinate them. For a simple reason, the queen is only one. I know the queen is tricky, but it's only one. So for example, let's say he has a queen on f4, he attack my f2 pawn, but only one time. Instead, if I attack the f2 pawn with a battery of rooks, that's a problem because it's attacked 2 times, so it can be taken. So now I'm just connecting the rook. And that's a good position for me. It's not winning, but as you see, I have 2 rooks, which are powerful. I have a rook on the 8th rank and a rook that will maybe go in the 7th in the future. My opponent ready to expand, which is not the best option. You should try to be as solid as possible because you are the one in trouble. And if you create more weaknesses, I'm probably going to win. So what I did now, I think was good. Computer does not really like it. And what I did now is that I took the knight and I have 2 rooks against the queen. And I did that because I saw that his position is really complicated to play. So I went for this plan because I understood that in order to survive this for my opponent, it requires a really precise move. So if I see that a position is good for me and also difficult for my opponent, and I mean, as you see, is plus 1.2 is not bad at all for me, I should go for that because it needs to be really accurate in order to not lose. So I played rook on e5, which I think it was a good move. Computer does not like it too much, but it makes sense. And I did that also with the intention to play f4. Why? I'm creating another plan. I see that he has plenty of weaknesses. This is weak, this is weak, this is weak. I need to target some of them. Now, I can't really go there cooled, but it's probably going to be a draw because we are going to trade all the pieces. So I put the rook on e5 because this pawn is weak and I want to target it in the future. I can't take it now because otherwise I'm going to lose the rook. So my plan is to put the rook there, defend the rook, and after the rook is defended, I'm going to move this rook. Why? Because now I'm not going to lose this rook and I can take the pawn and I want to lose this. So I built a plan based on the position, based on the weaknesses of my opponent. When you try to make a plan, you don't need to calculate 20 moves in the future, but as you see, I just calculated like 4 or 5 moves in the future of a plan that could work, that could go well. So when I'm thinking about a plan, I'm also thinking about the winning condition. My winning condition in this case is that I have the rook defended, this rook is somewhere else, and I can target this pawn. So I'm trying to do that. Now, my opponent tried to expand some more, which again, I don't really like it. And I can take the pawn. Why? I decided to take the pawn because now he has another weakness. This pawn is weak. And now I can play f4 and go for my plan. And he pushes again. And now I thought I was winning. Now I played rook on e7. So I give him a check this way with this rook because now he has to go on this rank and I can play queens. And I thought I was winning in this position because this pawn was really far from his king, and even though he could actually get to that, I thought that at this point I could push and win because he's basically in Zugzwang. So I saw this plan and I went for that. But there is a problem. That works, but I missed that he has d2 now. Which, I mean, is not so simple to see. I had to take it and now I'm going to lose this pawn and I'm in trouble. I'm not losing, but it's not easy to play this. It's a draw if played perfectly. My opponent missed that and I play g4 now. I'm going for this plan. I saw this and I thought, if I play g4 in this position, my opponent has to take a take. And I see that I have 2 pawns there. So this pawn can't stop both of them, so I can start pushing them. If I push them, he has to move the king, so I don't even need to see the precise move. Is just the idea. Is the idea that I have 2 pawns and I'm going to push them. 1 pawn can't stop them, so he has to bring a king in order to defend. When he brings the king in order to defend, this pawn is under attack, so I can take it. And now the 2 does not work. So he moves the king, I take the pawn, and the time that the king is going back, remember that I have 2 pawns, I'm going to trade one of them for this. Why? Because after I do that, I have a pawn on this side and my opponent doesn't. So he's going to take the pawn with the king, but in the time that he does that, I'm just closer to this pawn. So you see, and I'm going to take these pawns and win. That's my plan. That's what I saw. I didn't see the move, the precise move. It's not that I calculated 20 move in the future, but it was just the idea, and it's a thing that you develop with experience. So obviously, if you want to find plans really well, you have to play as game as possible. And it's important because you can just find the plans without calculating, only using your instinct, let's say. So in this position I play g4. It's the best move and it's the winning move. He played h5, a5, which does not really do a lot. And now I can push this pawn, because what is my plan? Is to trade one of them for this and win. Now he plays d2 in this position, but now I just up a clean pawn. So remember my plan, I could push this pawn, but I could also do another thing in this case. Before doing that, because I'm going to do that, I could also bring the king forward, and for this reason I play this. Why? Because now he can't take this pawn. I can't wait till I can actually trade these pawns and go for this. So he play like this, and now you can play a4 and you have no problem. Why I play a4 now? I play a4 now because I want him to go in Zugzwang. So Zugzwang is when he can't basically play good moves, but he has to play a move because, you know, it's chess, it's a rule. So what I did is e4. So he can't play good move forever, because if he play a5, I'm going to take the pawn and win. So maybe he can play b5, maybe he can play b6 now. But after that, let's say I do nothing, he kinda has to play something. If you push this pawn, yeah, you can, but after it goes to h5, I'm going to take it. So he has to do something at a certain point that is going to make him lose. So I can just wait. I'm just waiting. And if he goes for this pawn, just g4 and then f6 and win. Let's say he goes for this pawn, g4, gg. You have to go back, otherwise a queen, but if you really want that pawn, go to make a queen, not going anywhere. So the king can't go to 5 from these 2 pawns. And as you can see, he's in Zugzwang. I play b3 and he resigned. I'm going to show you how can you win. So I'm sure that the next time you can win a position like this easily. So let's say he plays h5. I take it, and yeah, my opponent take this pawn. Fine. I go on the queen side because he has this pawn, and what is my plan? I want to take this and then push my pawn in order to win. If he follows me, he can't. He needs to go back to that pawn. So let's say he want to take my pawn. Fine, take it. He takes the pawn, and my queen is too close to my king is too close to his pawn, and he is too far, so he can't really reach them. And in the time that he gets closer, I just win. I mean, now I guess every one of you can win this. Just push this pawn. You can make a shield with your king. It's really easy. So h5 does not work. What if you play b5? Just take b5 again. If he goes for my pawn, just king on f4. Why? Because now I want to push this pawn, and when it captures, I can cut it back with the king and bring this pawn to queening. So he plays it like this, whatever. You can take my pawn, but you're not in time. You're not in time. You're too far. If he goes back with the king, I go forward, so I gain more space, and he can't go on a5 or on g5, so I'm okay. If he pushes this pawn, he loses it. If he pushes this pawn, he loses it. And it's the same thing. If he goes back again, I can gain more space with my king, or I can play this pawn at this point. If he push the pawn, I can go back with the king because this pawn have a shield. His king is not going anywhere. So yeah, I can lose some time, but I win this pawn. I push this and I win. And if he takes this pawn, I take back. Yeah, maybe can defend this. That's true. But I don't want to queen this pawn. I don't care. I can just win this. And I win. There is no problem. Because his king is too far. And that's the same thing as before. You can't really do too much, as you can see, in the make a queen. So that's it for today, guys. I hope this was helpful. Obviously, it's not the last video about this topic. I'm going to make other video about it. Let me know, by the way, if this was helpful and if there is something that you didn't understand. See you to the next video. Stay safe. Bye bye.